So hello, my project I decided to do on the divination arts of China because I found it fascinating how, while this is integrated into various games and media, it really seems superficial on most of them. We use mathematical formulas and random algorithms to sort of simulate results. We've tried to make advances in this by using things like directed psychology, so it more pertains to the person, but usually it's very obvious we do this because we do have a personality survey at the beginning. So I decided, in order to integrate Chinese divination really into a game, one of the major things we had to do was the feel of the experience. That wasn't good enough just to have the mechanics, but that truly to make it interesting and informative, you also had to have a system where people felt like they were going to a temple for fortune telling, what sounds were around them. And of course it also is important just to make it as realistic as possible. Now divination is one of the few topics where it is a bit controversial on whether it's so-called real or not. There are some who pertain that it's simply affected by people's psychosis, and that because they think it's going to happen, it makes it more likely to happen, versus others who believe it's exactly what it says it is. Well, for my topic, I'm going to try and create this paper in a way where it doesn't really matter where you believe or not. These papers I will be presenting will be a guide to steps on how to make it feel realistic, while still trying to keep as much realism as I can in a digital environment. What you can see behind me is an example of what some of these divinations look like. This is a pretty simple one using dice, and as you could guess, the rocks are mainly there as paperweights, not so much for mystical energy, and to look impressive. I want to avoid things like these rocks, because while they look impressive, they don't have really any meaning in this form of fortune telling, and they don't add anything. What really creates the focus of this fortune telling is the emotions of the fortune teller and the fortune tellee, and the exchange each of them have. In order to do this, you will have to actually characterize your fortune teller much more than you would a normal character, either through the presence of Ling, so you have other characters in the game talking about either how effective they are, how much their fortunes work, and actually demonstrating that by having them spontaneously in a scene go consult fortune tellers, and by really integrating these fortune tellers into a believable world. If this is not accomplished, we still get the same thing of, well, it's just a random number generator, it's telling me a random thing to appease me, and at worst we get something like fortune cookies, which can have absolutely no relevance to the person in question, or even sometimes treated as a joke. So the challenges for this article were partly finding sources that both A, I could trust, and B, that actually had some credence to them. Some examples I had were anthropological articles that, while very detailed on the methods and ideologies, were somewhat loose on the personal and intrapersonal reactions. Whereas the opposite end of the spectrum, I had details accounts of people who talked to fortune tellers that talked more about what their beliefs were and not so much about how they actually performed these rituals and methods they used during these rituals. So I've had to collaborate a few different sources together to get these various divination techniques and have them in a usable form that people will enjoy and be able to actually think is realistic. The purpose of this, again, is to have a feeling of authenticity, and to do that you need to have a pretty good grasp of Chinese culture, which is what I've tried to lay down in these documents that allow anybody who hasn't studied this to be able to quickly and firmly grasp the essence of fortune telling.